Hello world, my name is Tim Ruswick and welcome to another video by Tim Ruswick. I'm going to launch my game twice. I'm going to try something crazy. If you were around the channel for the February launch of Philophobia, February 2019, what basically ended up happening is I ran out of time. I couldn't get a Steam page up and I decided to do something crazy and launch exclusively on itch. After like the circumstances had kind of presented themselves, I made that decision because I wanted to run a test. I wanted to run a test and say, what happens if you do launch on itch? Can you make the same amount of money? Like I wanted to test a bunch of stuff, right? Like, will people, if you build an audience, will people buy your game wherever it's at? Do they want Steam? And I learned a lot. And one of the things I learned actually is a lot of people want to wait for the Steam version. A lot of people told me that. I launched a physical version, right, against the advice of many people. A lot of people said that wasn't a good idea. Turned out to be a really good idea for my specific scenario, not in general. I want to be clear. You make sure you watch that video if you haven't, where I talk about my plan, and then I also share my revenue and stuff too. But I'm gonna try something else weird. So, Philophobia was a game that I was working on for 4 years. It was a platformer where love is literal hell and all the enemies are hearts. It's a very deep, dark journey into my brain at its darkest. You know, it was inspired by a breakup. It was inspired by some deep, dark stuff. I feel like I am past a lot of that, in case anybody's wondering, because I know people always ask how I'm doing, and I appreciate it. Yeah, those, you know, some of those dark thoughts and suicide and all the stuff that's in that game is a remnant of how I used to feel. I don't feel that way anymore. But it was a game that was inspired by those feelings, and it's kind of true to that core. And it's really important to me, right? And as I started Game Dev Underground, and as I, you know, built this whole community, I sort of just kind of made this announcement that I was going to finish and publish the game. And even though that was my first commercial game, it was a big, daunting task and long journey, right? So what we did for the last couple months of launch is I streamed 6 days a week, 6 hours a day, every single day, just working on the game live. We built the entire second half of the game. We built all the cutscenes. We did all the voiceovers and stuff on Twitch, which, by the way, I stream my current game, Cyberpunk, the development process of that. If you want to hit up my Twitch channel, twitch.tv/Tim Ruswick. I do that 2 days a week. But it was an interesting process. And through the launch period of doing this test in itch and launching there, I realized that I didn't really do a marketing campaign, right? I just didn't have, not only did I not have the time, because the game, literally I was working on the game up until 6 hours before launch. And then on top of that, the game actually launched with a game-breaking bug that I had to work the whole next day on. And then I had to work the next couple weeks messing with all kinds of stuff and fixing stuff and adding stuff. There was just straight up no time. As a solo developer, there was no time to even think about another launch. Second of all, there was no brain space. There was no mental capacity there. I was in 100% development mode. There's no way that I ever could have switched into marketing mode. And because it takes a different like brain space. It's kind of like doing art and doing programming. Like programming requires a lot of logic and thought and math and that side of your brain, and then art requires a lot of like, you know, iteration and trying stuff and just, you know, mixing and match, like it's a very different skill set. And like, it's funny because you can tell I love listening to podcasts while I'm doing art. It like puts me in the flow. I can't listen to podcasts at all while I'm programming. It's like, it will like steal my train of thought, right? So with that in mind, marketing is kind of the same thing, where it's like you gotta think in terms of the customer. You gotta think through their experience. Like, how are people gonna find you? How are people gonna buy your game? If they do find you, is there a clear path to the purchase? Like, what are they gonna feel? What are they gonna think when they see your page? Like all that stuff, right? So on itch, I just kind of slid under the radar, did my test, did my physical version test, and now we're 9-10 months later. The game is going to relaunch on February 10th, 2020 on Steam. And by the way, the Steam page is live if you guys want to go wish list that. I'd appreciate it. Steam version is going to have a couple things. One, it's going to have a bunch of extra content because there was hundreds of levels that got cut from Philophobia. So some of them are going to make a return because they've been reworked. Some of them are completely and brand new, built from the ground up for expert players. There's going to be a lot of that stuff. In retrospect, the game needed a better onboarding system for the first like 30 minutes or so. So that's going to be reworked. There's going to be some quality of life stuff like level select and upgrades and things like Steam achievements and cloud save and stuff like that. So it's going to be a full featured experience. It's going to be like, it's the same game, but it's like almost like a director's cut version of the game, and it's going to launch on Steam. If you own the itch copy, you get a free Steam copy. I'm not one of them developers, just trying to make everybody buy it twice. Everybody that bought it on itch gets it free on Steam, but I'm launching on Steam, and that's the thing. So the way that I'm treating this, I'm treating the itch launch like an early access launch, right? I'm treating everything that's gone before this as an early access launch, because I did everything I could to get it there, but it wasn't where I wanted it, right? And Steam is like the next level platform. It's got the eyeballs. It's got the things in place to allow different features and stuff, right? Like achievements and that kind of thing. So I'm doing things a little bit differently. There was no marketing plan for the original Philophobia launch. I posted on YouTube about it. I posted on Reddit once or twice about it. We didn't really get any traction with that. That's a whole other story. And I posted on Discord about it. But that was all like inter-community, right? And people don't realize how big the world is. Okay, you don't realize like there are millions of people out there. All right, you think Tim's got a big audience? He's got 50,000 people. No. Like I got like a fucking tiny little piece of the total piece of gamers, right? So, in all of the marketing leading up to the Steam launch, I'm going to do my best to do a full-scale marketing campaign. Now, I still have some development work to do on the game, so I'm hoping that there is enough time to fit all of the marketing stuff in. That is definitely going to take precedent over some of the... I wouldn't say the content, because the content is going to be important, but there are a series of features planned like speedrunner integrations and all this different stuff that may get cut in favor of the marketing stuff, because that's the priority. But I have a lot planned. And just like I shared my revenue on itch, I'm going to share my revenue again on Steam coming up. I'm going to share all of the details and stuff. There are some subtleties on Steam that you can't share. Like I can't show the back end. I can't show stuff like that, which is stupid, but whatever. It's not like it's a secret, like, you know, but what, you know, it's Steam, whatever. So I'm going to be doing a marketing campaign, a full one. Did not do for the original launch. I'm going to launch it again as if it never launched, right? It did launch, but the way that I'm going to do it is not going to be like, hey, Philophobia is relaunching. Philophobia is launching, right? Because it came to itch as sort of an early version, like it was a finished version, but it was sort of an early version, and this new version is like what I designed, like it's a director's cut, right? Like it's the thing that's coming. So most of the world doesn't know the game exists, and I'm going to treat the marketing campaign like that. And it'll be interesting to see kind of what, like I know there's a lot of games that come to one platform at a time, and that's pretty common, especially for indie games with limited resources. But this will be interesting to actually do like two launches, two very separate weird launches, like one physical Founders Edition only to my audience launch, and then one full scale reach out to press and, you know, YouTubers and all that stuff launch. I'm going to share everything I learned. I'm going to share the process behind the marketing. I'm going to share the process of doing it on Steam, and then I'm going to share the revenue that comes at it. My goals are easy, simple. Philophobia made about 10K in its lifetime over the itch launch. Most of that was from the physical founders. A big chunk of the physical founders was tied up in physical costs. So, well, I would say about the costs were around 40 or 50% total across all the founders editions. So we made about 10K total revenue. I'm hoping for that again on Steam. That's my goal. I'm not trying to make that private jet money in indie games, right? Because when you launch an indie game on Steam, you obviously get a private jet. That's like how it works. But if I can make another 10K, I will be happy. That's the goal. February 10th, 2020. Wishlist the game on Steam, please. You help me out. And like I said, I'm also giving everybody that bought it on itch a Steam key, which is untraditional, I think. A lot of people, they make money by having people buy it on other platforms, and I don't really subscribe to that whole thing. So it'll be interesting. It'll be interesting to see if, like, as some people said, maybe I've tapped out my audience, right? Because like I've sold the game to them, and I'm giving them a free copy on Steam. So will that have any impact on the Steam launch? I don't know. Will having launched last year or this year impact my launch next year? I don't know. We'll see. Will press even cover it if they can find evidence that's already been launched? I don't know. It'll be an interesting experiment. And if you're not subscribed, I recommend you hit the subscribe button, because I'm going to be sharing all this process the whole way through. And let's not forget my Cyberpunk game, right? That's a Cyberpunk stealth hacking roguelike, and that's coming out. We are approaching 8 hours on that. The devlogs are a couple months behind, so if you want to follow that whole process, you can stay tuned here on the channel. But yeah, wishlist Philophobia on Steam. Stay tuned for all of the updates. I just wanted to share the plan that I have going into Philophobia. If there are any specifics of things that you want me to share, right? Because I know when I was watching other people launch indie games, I was like, hey, I really wish I could know what you did here, right? And I didn't have anybody to ask. And everybody I did ask didn't reply. So if there's some things you want to know from me about launching or about finishing or about Philophobia or design insights or marketing insights or whatever, feel free to ask those in the comments down below, and I'll do my best to answer them. But one thing I want to say real quick, though, is I want to say thank you to the Patreons that made this possible. Patreon.com/GameDevUnderground. There is a series of extra bonuses and perks that you can get for being a part of Game Dev Underground Elite. Everything from custom access to a specific chat room, all the way up to like a full-on mastermind meeting with me every 2 weeks, where we hold each other accountable and go over goals. There's a lot of cool stuff here, and I just want to say thank you to everybody that makes what I do possible, because some riskier tests like the whole itch test and that whole thing might not be possible without the beautiful people from Game Dev Underground, without the patrons, without the ad revenue. If I didn't have revenue from other sources, making massive financial risks on my game that took me 4 years might not be possible. So I appreciate everybody that is a part of Game Dev Underground, and I appreciate you for watching. So my name is Tim Roswick, and I will see you later.